Hey there, paper geeks and glitter nerds, it's another crazy geek crafter. Despite a persistent cough, I am back with the big project I was talking about last week. Or not talking about, I wrote about. See, since I was about, well, in my teens somewhere, it's been like 20 years, I've been collecting napkins. And I have almost 40 different napkins, and I have finally figured out why I've kept them all these years. It's because I needed to make a banner of them, because there are so many pretty designs, and you can also see how the napkin designs have evolved through time, actually. So I'm going to unfortunately have to cut a lot of pieces of cardstock. They're going to be 16 by 16 centimeters, and it would have been so much easier if it had been 15 by 15, because then I could get 4 pieces out of one piece of cardstock. But I can only get one. So that's a lot of cardstock. And I'm going to need more than 40, because I'm going to mess up. And I'm going to try again. And again. And I'm finally, at some point, going to find something that's doable, I'd say. But this did take several days, because I tried something, it didn't work. I had to try something else, and that didn't really work. And then I tried something again. And in between these, I also had to cut these rectangles. And I've cut most of those out, so you don't have to watch me cut like 60 squares of cardstock. To protect my work surface, I take a piece of baking paper, since I'm going to be playing with some glue. Now this napkin, I have several of. It's one I bought myself for 1 year, I think 2 years ago for Christmas, must be. It was pre-corona, so. And I know all these napkins have at least 3 layers, so it's a bit fiddly to get them to let go of each other. But it is necessary, otherwise it will peel off over time. I'm going to try out doing this with Mod Podge to start with. And I've never played with this, actually it's brand new, I've never played with it before, so it was interesting. Since it's supposedly not just a glue. I don't know what I think about it yet. I think I need to find a project where it actually does whatever it is supposed to do and not just make a fool of me, which I feel like it did for this project. See, the first one here goes perfect. It looks nice, and just have to re-glue the edges. It's perfect. But none of the others will be going this smoothly. All third time was not the charm, unfortunately. I ripped it a bit there, and now I'm going to leave everything to dry and then come back and try and apply a layer on top, because I figured that this was also supposedly something that would preserve my napkin better. And on this one it goes on pretty nicely because it's dry. I just can't see where I've been and where I still need to be, so it dries really fast. Since I now think that I'm ready, because that first one went pretty well, I'm going to cut all the napkins so that I can just glue, put it on. And that's going to take a while. I cut most of it out. You will be able to see every single napkin design in this video. I left that in a bit later on. when I glued to the cardstock. If you wanted to see it, of course, I have chapters on my video, so you can skip ahead if there's any of these things that you don't want to see, but you need to see something further along. Now these are the first 10 cards I made, or not cards, squares. And now I'm trying to do what I did with the other one, with the one with the angels, and that's just coating it, not ripping it hopefully, and yeah. And it makes the color run apparently. And then I try this one, and it's not glued right. I can, every place where there's not been glued underneath it does this. So I have to make a new one. So I figure, okay, maybe we try putting glue in the middle, putting on the napkin, and putting glue over top. That should work, right? I've never seen anything this wrinkly in my life. And that includes prunes. So that didn't work either. But the middle is very smooth right there where it's actually glued on. I am persistent. I keep trying. I also have to make a new one of this because I ruined the other one when I tried to put the Mod Podge on top. And I take a dry brush to try and smooth out the napkin to get it to adhere to the paper. So I figure I need somewhere to hold this paper. So I make a little handle on the side so I have something to hold, and glue can get all over the place. And then I try the brush again, the dry brush and then the wet brush, and more wrinkles. This was really tiresome. It was a big project because I had so many napkins, different designs and stuff, but also the whole process of finding out what was the best way to go about this. This is where I give up on the Mod Podge, and I make sure to seal it very well and bring in double-sided tape. Years ago I made some pattern paper out of wrapping paper using this specific brand of double-sided tape, and those look fine today, so I'm pretty sure this will hold up for the years. I don't know why I didn't think of it to start with. I figured that it would be better to use something liquid, or I don't know. This isn't the best application. I should have made sure it was completely covered because you can actually see the lines, but this was a test piece. This was not the most elegant napkin to start with, so it didn't really matter. But you can see here the smoothness difference. This is so much better. And if I cover the entire thing with the tape, it'll look so much better. And the funny thing is, when I run my Bonefolder along the edges, all the little holes that are the edge banding on the napkins, it disappears almost. So now just there's like almost 40 to go. And I will be covering the entire piece with the tape, making sure to reuse it over and over. I think I get 4 or 5 squares out of that one piece. So here's a montage of me putting on all these napkins so you can see all the designs. I might pop in here and there if there's something I feel the need to comment on, but mostly these should be recognizable images for the Christmas holidays. The next step is to make holes, or actually put on these hole enforcers and cut down the panel so they're actually square. This took quite a while because everything stuck to the knife, because at the edge there was also still some adhesive. That was not very fun, but necessary. I thought I could handle that some of them were a bit crooked on the sides, but I just couldn't, they had to be straight. So this is gonna take a while, and don't worry, I cut most of it out. You won't have to watch me go through all of these. With the cutting done, I decided to take a look at the prints. There were actually three different directions the pieces could turn. There were some that could turn anywhere. Then there were some that were on the slant, and then these that are more square. And I tried to mix them up so I would get a nice pattern. And tried to avoid getting 4 blues or 4 reds, really reds, next to each other, mixing up the colors, because I actually have quite the diverse color palette. I will be shuffling them again later because my calculation weren't right, and some of the different colors ended up in the wrong spaces again. I'm going to run my anti-static friend here over the edges so that they won't stick together or stick to anything else. And then I'm glue on the hole enforcer and punch the hole. Or actually, I will glue on the enforcer, I'll let it dry, and then I'll punch the hole, because in a minute you'll see what happens when I try to punch the hole when the glue is not yet dry. This napkin, I find it very weird. See, there are two objects, at least two objects on this card that is mostly only seen in Denmark. And that is the Danish flag on the tree and the braided heart. But they still wrote Merry Christmas on the napkin instead of Glædelig Jul or God Jul. That's just weird. Why would you make a napkin with the symbols of a Danish Christmas but write the greeting in English? That's just odd. But this was how I made sure that all the diamonds of the patterns were straight, according to each other, of course. And now I can make all the holes. And that was a tiny bit painful, I have to say. It's not that this cardstock is extremely thick or anything, it's just a lot of holes, and this was actually quite tiresome on my back. But I made it through. Now I just have to string them all together, and I did string them all in one big string. But I'm going to change it for the layout I wanted. I actually wanted it in rows, and that just doesn't work very well when you string them all together as one long piece. I also knew I needed a bit of space in between each square, so I decided in a minute here I'll decide on the length, and it'll be the same between all the squares. I need a bigger drawer for all my things here, so I find a length that I find is nice, and then I double it and add a few centimeters for tying the knot. So it'll be approximately 10 centimeters. They'll be I'll try that again. They will be approximately 10 centimeters apart. Good thing this video's almost over. And this concludes this massive project that I actually wanted to do last year but didn't have the time for. These hang in my dining area in my kitchen, and I really think that is fitting for napkins. I hope you enjoyed the project, and you'll be back next week for another one. Until then, I hope you'll be having a good day, evening or night.